and welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Danny Kanell. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, a.k.a. the Cover 3 Tailgate, where they are continuing the conversation that we had yesterday on Sunday, where you saw those sirens in your feed, that yes, we have 2 power conference jobs already open. Deshaun Foster starts 0-3, 15 games into his UCLA tenure. He is out. UCLA looking for a new coach. Brent Pry, 0-3 to start this season, a season of high expectations. He is out. Virginia Tech looking for a new job. The Tailgate's talking about which job is better. Listen, if you haven't already, to yesterday's podcast. That was, of course, a big part of the show. It is a Monday. That means that we've got upon further review, our chance to go back to some of the things we didn't address in the instant reaction show, some of the late night action and more. We will be looking for our brilliantly boring wins of the week, our hymn of the week. But first, I do think that it is important that we do something that we did not realize the kind of waves that we would make throughout college football. So let's go through and react to the new AP Top 25 poll. Okay. Do we have let's jump straight to the meat of this. Do we have any individual ballots that are standing out, gentlemen?
I have 2. One that I actually is getting a lot of attention, but I think I understand why, even if I disagree with the methodology. And then one where I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. Which one would you like me to start with?
Disagree with the methodology.
Okay. Brenna Green from KOIN TV in Portland left South Carolina at 10. Didn't rank Vanderbilt. And she's catching plenty of heat for it this week. I don't know. As far as I know, she hasn't gone on social media to not discuss her process or logic. But going through her poll, I believe her logic is pretty clear, because if you look at the rest of her ballot, it makes plenty of sense. Like Notre Dame's not ranked. She doesn't have Vandy ranked. And I'm thinking, based on what I have seen, where she's really kind of responding to results, her thought process is probably that she's not going to punish South Carolina for losing after Lenora Sellers got hurt early in the game. I don't know. In fact, I don't agree with it, because injuries are a part of football and the results still count, even if the committee might give you a little bit more benefit of the doubt later in the season. But as far as I could tell, based on everything else that she's done in her ballot, that's the only logical reasoning for it.
I think there's a better reason. I thought so on the radio this morning, somebody told me that she just screwed up. That makes way more sense, that she didn't realize that Vanderbilt had won the game. Like she didn't follow up on the scores, because that, if it's the quarterback being lost at this point in the season, you just lost the game. You have to make an adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give Vanderbilt credit for at least beating them the way they did. Like, and I hate seeing Lenora Sellers go out, but I'm pretty sure she said, I don't know, I have to go find it out, because I could be totally making this up too. But I thought that makes the most sense out of anything, because I liked a lot of her picks. Like, that was the only one was the real outlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think she might have just screwed that one. Which brings up a point that we said last week. How can the AP not do a better job of saying, hey, are you sure?
Yeah.
Just a quick email. It takes 2 seconds. Are you sure? You still have South Carolina here. Are you sure? And then if you say yes, then at least you know you're ready to answer questions. You're ready to be scrutinized from the media, guys like us, and you're ready to defend it. Because if that was her explanation, now I'd probably disagree with her, but I'd be okay with it. At least it made sense. She had an explanation. So, but I don't know. Who's your other one? Because I have one. It might be the same.
My other one, hold on, I got to go back to it now. Darn it. This is great podcast. Koki?
Yeah.
No, it is not Koki. It is, where are you?
It's hard to find. I thought they were alphabetical. I think
it's Dylan
scrambling.
Sin.
Ooh.
Of the Journal Gazette, who it's the logic in his ballot confuses me, because he clearly has he's clearly paying attention to results, and he clearly values wins, in that, he's got Oklahoma up to number 5 at 3-0. He's got Auburn at 3-0 at number 13. I mean, they beat Baylor. That was a win that was, big at the time. He's got, South Florida still ranked at 22 despite the loss because I'm guessing because of the Boise State and the Florida wins. He's got Tulane in his ballot. All right. But he also still has Notre Dame at 17 and Clemson at 24, while leaving out Utah, Michigan, and Missouri entirely. So there's a this is some kind of weird blend of rewarding wins, but also what the computer polls say, or like the power ratings are. And I'm guessing we're going to have a much larger discussion about Notre Dame as a whole here. So if we want to transition into that, or if we want to spend more, because I've got plenty of thoughts about the Notre Dame thing.
Well, that's where I can go with Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Okay, let's go. Oh, yeah, let's go.
He has Notre Dame at 10 still, which is by far the biggest outlier. I don't think they should be in the top 25, period. Mm-hmm. But I guess his methodology is giving really good credit for losses. Like those are tough losses by a field goal and by 1 point. But my whole thing with Notre Dame, why I don't think they should be ranked, let them go out there and earn it back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like why do they get preferential treatment? Like if we're doing that, there's a lot of teams that have lost tough games and have lost games by one possession. Why does Notre Dame get preferential treatment? Because you thought they were going to be good before the season. They'll have plenty of time. They have 10 more games to work their way slowly back up as they start to win games. I do not have any idea why they are still ranked by anybody.
So if you've only got a ballot of 25 and you understand your job as an AP voter, I like what Tom said where he said it just doesn't sit right, the idea that you've got an 0-2 team right there. Mm-hmm. And if you were challenged to fill out a top 50, would there be a high floor for a team? Because here's the line, and this is not the same as who would win on a neutral field, which again I don't love here, but it's find me 29 teams that have looked better than Notre Dame has looked, because Notre Dame has played a Miami team that is up in the top 5, and Notre Dame has played a Texas A&M team, which, that was on your home turf. You couldn't get a stop. You are obviously have some flaws, but Notre Dame has been in close games where one play could have gone either way to make them 2-0. I understand the argument that they still, even as an 0-2 team, have looked like a top 30 team. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's now we have a couple of our dear friends and even one of our enemies who still included Notre Dame in the top 15 of their, or the top 20 of their ballots. Like Brett McMurphy, our dear friend, had him at 14. Nicole Auerbach, our dear friend, had him at 17. And our mortal enemy, Ralph Russo, had them at 15. But like Ralph released a video explaining why. Nicole wrote a column explaining why. Like if you feel like you need to write a column or share a social media video where Ralph even went full Herb Street. Okay. He put his dog in the video. Ralph, I know what you're doing. Okay. You want the dog to take the bullets for you. It's disgusting. I'm sickened by it. But if you feel like you have to do that, then there's a part of you in the back of your head that knows you're doing the wrong thing, because you're immediately on the defensive, feeling like you have to defend it. And like Danny said, and I told Ralph this, what I think is silly about it is I think it's more ego than anything, because you want to be proven right in the long run. And you want to be able to say that when Notre Dame is still ranked late in the season, that you never doubted them. You were right all along.
Diamond
who cares? Yeah. Who cares? It's the week 3 AP poll. Just knock them out. If they really deserve to be ranked, they're going to win games and climb back in. For this week, just reward a team that's played well to start the season. Like there are teams outside of the ballot that probably deserve to be ranked a lot more than Notre Dame, no matter what you think Notre Dame's going to do the rest of the season. And I guarantee you Notre Dame will be back in the rankings, because they're not going to lose 5 or 6 games. They are going to win a bunch of games from here on out, and then you bump them back up. And so for 1 week, you leave them off. It's not a big deal.
I got a couple shout outs. Since we're sitting here ripping on them, I'll give some good kudos out here, because Greg Maeda of the Daily Progress has
Virginia,
Georgia,
right?
Is that Virginia?
Yeah.
He's got Georgia Tech at 8. I say good for him. And I don't know where he had him last week, but I'm assuming they were a pretty big mover for him. And I've got another one I'll send a shout out to. John Furlong. John Furlong has Texas lower than anybody else at 17. My question for everybody else would be, why doesn't everybody have Texas either unranked or in the late teens based on what we've seen on the field? So I do think at least these two voters are doing things that I think they should be doing, and that's making major adjustments with the more knowledge that we've gotten through the season so far.
Shout out to y'all. See, fair and balanced.
Yeah,
all right?
right.
There we go.
Well, I'm going to balance it out a little more.
Okay.
Because I mentioned Dylan Sin earlier. He had Clemson ranked. He's one of 3 people who's still ranking Clemson. Jamal St. Cyr and Ian Kress. Come on, folks.
Do better. Do better. That's
Like,
got to be, and that's the same Notre Dame thinking. Like, well, they're going to be, they'll probably.
But they
be
might
there
not be. That's the thing. Like, I think Notre Dame's definitely going to make its way back. I'm not entirely sure Clemson does.
Yeah, Notre Dame again. Notre Dame seems closer to being 2-0 than Clemson seems to being 3-0. And I understand that Clemson has a 1-score loss to LSU and a 1-score loss to Georgia Tech, but just in terms of how close you are to being what you can be, I think Notre Dame's got more of an argument there. And the reason why I brought up that Notre Dame thing is reacting to the way they moved in the CBS Sports 136, where it was, a lot of the ballots on the 136 are 30, 50, 75, 136 long. Your adjustment there, I think, feels a little bit different based on the way that those rankings are presented as opposed to the AP poll.
Don't even get me started on the censorship of the 136.
I do want to, somebody in the chat, Fox Mulder, said Kevin Carter has Indiana at 11. Joke. It's higher than anybody else is. A lot of people have him high. If you're upset at him for Indiana because they haven't played anybody, you should be just as upset at Penn State for having not played anybody either. Like, why are they in everybody's top 5? It's all based on the preseason notions, which we had.
Also,
so,
was Indiana not a playoff team last year?
Yeah, but the preseason hype was way more around Penn State than it was.
I know, but Indiana has lost 2 games since last August.
Right.
Like, they deserve some benefit of the doubt. You can argue about who they're playing, but when they're playing them, they are beating the absolute dog crap out of them when they do it.
Yep. And anything else that we want to keep our eyes on here in terms of the rankings? Just for those who haven't gotten a chance to take a look at it, Ohio State stays steady at 1, Penn State steady at 2, LSU at 3, Miami moving up, and Georgia moving up a spot. Oregon takes a small step back, but I would say that's probably in the category of you just got passed. Florida State moves up on a week off. Man, God, time slot champs. Just love seeing that. Yes, Tom.
I do have one more thing I want to point out here.
Okay.
Because not only is LSU number 3, but they're still receiving first place votes. So shout out to Pat Welter and some guy named Reese Davis. I don't know who that is. I've never heard of him. But what in the hell did you see from LSU in that game against Florida the other night that still makes you think they're the best team in the country? Like, are you afraid Brian Kelly's going to yell at you? That team has looked very – I understand, like, the Clemson win was big, but Clemson is now losing to Georgia Tech. Clemson's 1-2. You beat Florida, who was 1-2 and just lost to South Florida the week before. Meanwhile, LSU's offense looked terrible in that game, and they still barely held on to win despite 5 turnovers from Florida. Like, they were not the best team in that game by far. Our friend Parker Fleming released the success rate chart this morning. The biggest gap in success rate for any team that won a game was Florida over LSU. They were horrific in that game, and I'll have more on that upon further review. I'm
glad you brought them up because you and I had a little back and forth that you clipped, that CBS clipped, and the shelf life has been way longer than I would have hoped. But here's what I will do. So here's to your point. Like, I thought that was the best win of the opening weekend because it was on the road, because it was against Clemson. Clearly, it doesn't resonate as much as a lot of other wins. So you know what I've done? I've dropped LSU way down. Now, I did give them credit for beating an SEC team. So, like, they have 2 good wins. But that Clemson win doesn't hold anywhere near as much weight now as it did than what I thought Clemson was going to be. But now that we know, I was like, all right, it's a good road win, but it's not one of the best wins in the country anymore by far.
Yep. Coming up on the other side, we go under the hood. As Tom mentioned, it is Upon further review, one last look back at week 3 before we turn our attention ahead to week 4 and more.
Next.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
that is a rookie mistake,
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Glad we wear our good jerseys.
Yeah.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast. And now it is time for the brilliantly boring wins of the week, brought to you by PNC Bank, where we highlight the boring actions that make the biggest difference. Financial wins and football victories don't just happen. They're built on dedicated, consistent, and often unseen work behind the scenes. It's the tactical moves and plays that create the foundation for the show-stopping moments in life and on the field. And when I think about being able to do the small things right, we saw a lot of games that were impacted by weather delays. And so being able to have those details sharp, that is so important. And so in a game that had so much hype, as USF had been just the absolute giant killers, they come in. Is Miami going to be the next prey for the Bulls? I thought that this would be a good time to congratulate the way that Miami handled business. Out of the first 6 possessions that they got with a weather delay in between them, 4 of them end up being touchdowns. They were methodical. It was not overly splashy. This was just a team that weathered the storm literally and put the Bulls away, jumping out to a 28-6 lead. They hold on, end up winning by a 49-12 final margin. Tom, what stood out about what Miami did on the field, again, handling their business all throughout the delay?
I mean, it was clinical. They were the better team by far in that game, and they just showed it on every single down. Even when USF was able to hit a few big plays to move into Miami territory, no panic, no nothing, just completely went right back to the basics, trusted the process, and kept them out of the end zone, held them to field goals. Just absolutely what you wanted to see from them, especially a week ahead of an even bigger game against Florida.
Danny, what'd you make of the Canes? We did not even spend a whole lot of time, just because it, as Tom mentioned, very clinical, just took care of business. This maybe is not your father's Miami Hurricanes, if we're to see by any example, in terms of not playing down to the competition or getting trapped in the spot, looking like a true top 5 team.
I thought that they were going to win the game. I did not think they'd do that. That was impressive for them to come out. Carson Beck, I mean, there was a lot of guys I've seen mocked to be a top, first round draft pick. He's the only one that's playing like it. He looks comfortable in the pocket. And I would say more importantly, I think this is when you're talking about those weather delays, when you have an opponent that you're potentially overlooking before your games against Florida and Miami. He was playing with a lot of emotion, like getting his teammate up, rallying around. That was something I questioned, was his leadership. To me, I've been really impressed with the way he's kind of taken over, not only as a player on the field, but an emotional leader, which I think is huge for him.
Yep, 100%. And those were the brilliantly boring wins of the week, brought to you by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865. Brilliantly boring since 1865 is a service mark of the PNC Financial Services Group, Inc. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC. Number 1 in the country in completion percentage, by the way, Carson Beck.
He's dealing.
Yeah, man's just comfortable in the system, getting it done. He definitely seems like, for all of the, is he going to be healthy enough to feel comfortable in Shannon Dawson's system? He seems to know exactly where the ball needs to go. So that is a pleasant surprise, certainly for Miami. All right. Every single Monday, we like to go under the hood. It is our chance to get one last look at the week that was. It is upon further review. And
where's the wristband?
There were terrible calls. Do we want to go ahead and jump in?
After further review.
Okay, Danny, you teased
right.
it yesterday. You said you've got an Arch Manning take, and this is where it's got to start.
So I don't want to revel in this because I don't enjoy this, but Arch Manning's numbers, 11 of 25 for 114 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception versus UTEP does not even come close to telling you how bad it was for Texas. He has mechanical flaws. He is not seeing the field. He looks like somebody who is really, really struggling. I wish personally, I actually would feel better about it if Sark had said last week, instead of his little press conference where he went off, on the media, I would have felt better if he said, you know what? He's dealing with something. He's got a sore shoulder. He's got a sore rib, anything than saying there aren't any issues instead of what you saw now with a healthy Arch Manning. I thought there was a chance that he could take him out of the game, that he was going to bench him potentially. He did not, because I think he understands the ramifications. If you bench Arch versus UTEP, the amount of story and headlines that will get. He has one more week to get Arch Manning figured out. And the take that I had on it, which does not bring me any joy, but I don't think it's that crazy. There's almost like a Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, something going on where those guys were all everything. They were supposed to be incredible. And then something happened, and it's mostly mental, where I was wondering how Arch Manning would handle the hysteria that was around him. And he downplayed everything. But to me, this is very much a quarterback, which his confidence is completely shot. And I feel like it's impacting his mechanics, which is the similarity I would compare to both of those guys, because at one time their mechanics looked good. At one time they could make the shots. We've seen Arch make all the throws. And even there were times in that game when he had a couple of nice throws, but there are way too many stretches where it is as in Sark was trying to get his confidence up by calling easy routes, quick hitches, crossing routes, and he was missing them. There is something, this is a greater problem that Sark has 1 week to figure out. And I don't know if you can solve it in 1 week. He has got to get Arch to play more free, to get him to go out there and play with confidence. But the only way to do that is to play your way out of it. And he's got to do that, or else when they get to the meat of their SEC schedule, this is going to be a major problem for Texas.
Yeah, no, the tape's ugly. I mean, I mentioned it on Saturday night. I said, the misses are like, there's one thing to miss throw, like just your accuracy being a little off, like it's a little low, it's just wide by a couple, just out of reach, just at his ankles. Like he's missing these throws by yards. And it's not always like he's not under pressure on all of these throws either. Some of them he's just standing there in a clean pocket and he's completely whiffing on them. And it is, I don't know if he's hurt. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. If I'm a Texas fan, I hope he is in an odd way, because like you said, that would make it far more understandable. But it was one thing when it was against Ohio State, because you're like, all right, they're playing like the best team in the country, an incredible defense. They just won a national title. But these last two games, these are games where you're supposed to be completely steamrolling teams. And your guys are supposed to be running wide open and you're supposed to hit them in stride. And they are running wide open and you're missing them. I don't know. It's very concerning. I agree with you.
Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz is damning. That's when you landed on it, that's when you were like, okay, I got this one.
You know what Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz have in common?
What?
Neither one of their college teams made the tournament while they were the best player on the team.
Do you guys?
The flip side to that is Anthony Edwards also missed the NCAA tournament, but still.
Yeah, and he's maybe maybe one of the.
And there are such things as box score superstars.
Yep.
Do you guys? So the thing that's even more concerning is we're just totally laying into Texas. Third downs, which is really where you judge quarterbacks' offenses. They're 120. They're dead last in the SEC, 126th in the country. They're 12 of 42 on third down conversions. And a lot of these third downs that I've been watching have been in the last 2 weeks. Like it's really, really concerning. Charlie Ward, my buddy who, won the Heisman Trophy at Florida State. I love him.
Yeah.
He tweeted out something like in support that kind of got, I think even HQ was asking about, getting Charlie on to talk about Arch Manning. He was like, hang in there. I got booed by my own fan base when he started, and he's 100% right. But you know what else happened to Charlie? He got benched. He got benched. He got taken out of the game. I came in and I wasn't ready. So like I would come in and kind of we'd get the ball going and it was fun. But then they'd go back to Charlie. And even Coach Bowden and Mark Richt were like, he just needed a breather. He needed to get off the field, kind of collect himself. I do not think it's crazy that it. So like, and Charlie was supporting him, but I'm like, maybe he needs to be taken off the field just to get a breather. And they might have to look at other options to see what happens.
Do you know what's interesting? Sark did that to Quinn and put in Arch.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He took Quinn off and he said he just needed a breather. He needed to watch a series from the sideline before going back in there. He did that, I think, 2 times last season. So obviously it's in Sark's bag as something to do when you're trying to work with your quarterback. The question is the quarterback depth there that he's got the same amount of confidence in being able to turn over a series? And if the answer is no, and then,
Right.
you know, if that's what you need to do to get this thing back on track, it's tough seeing. And all of this, as I think we said throughout last week, is while Texas also happens to have one of the best defenses in the country.
Mm-hmm. And like an excuse for not doing it with Arch would be like, well, if you bench Arch, think of the attention that grabs and like kind of how that's going to play out in the media. But the counter to that is benching Quinn for Arch last year didn't do the same exact thing. It's like that if you're worried about Arch Manning's name causing way too much attention on it, and you're worried that maybe benching him for even if it's just for a series will destroy or hurt him mentally and confidence in the way the media will talk about it, then you know what? He's just not going to succeed, because if he can't handle that, then what's he going to be able to handle?
There was a play, he was scrambling, and it was a very clear throwaway situation. Like, just throw the ball out of bounds. He threw it right to a linebacker of UTEP. Like, and the guy, like, it caught him by surprise, and he dropped it, or else it was another interception. He had a couple interceptable balls. I don't want to pile on any more than we have to, because I've already made the point. I just think it's a major issue that Texas has that I don't know if people are talking about, because if you're just scoreboard watching or you're not really diving in, you're like, well, maybe he had a bad game. It's like excusable. It's off. It's off.
The backup is Matthew Caldwell, by the way.
So Owens is running third right now?
As far as the depth chart on our lads, it's Matthew Caldwell with Owens third.
Oof. Oh, okay. Maybe it ain't as maybe making that decision. And I know Quinn was battling injuries as well, but if I remember, I'm just pulling this anecdotally. If I remember, Steve Sarkisian even said in a post-game press conference that he just wanted Quinn to watch a series from the sideline just to
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So
it can be like helpful. I know it's hard because it does put a lot more pressure, but I think Tom makes a great point. Like, everyone's been benched at some point in their career. Like, if you can't recover from that, then you're not meant to be a starting quarterback at Texas.
Okay. I'm going to make a joke, and then it will be a pivot into something that's a little bit more uplifting. Okay. Was Arch shook by how awesome Dia Bell was on the Cover 3 podcast? Is it possible that Dia Bell was so good on the Cover 3 podcast?
Maybe.
Mr. Warby Parker himself was like, oh God, how am I going to handle that when he comes to Austin?
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if Dia is in the mix to start for Texas next year if it's not working out with Arch.
Yep. And now it's time for the Hymn of the Week, sponsored by Jordan Peele's upcoming sports horror film, Him, only in theaters September 19th. That's right. This Friday, you can go and see the movie that combines football, sports, and horror and asks, what are you willing to sacrifice? And this week, our Cover 3 podcast, Hymn of the Week, is Him King, a.k.a. Haynes King, because that boy was lifting his body up off the field. You want to know what you're willing to sacrifice for Haynes King? It is everything. And you hear him after the game on the field. You know, he is giving the credit right to his teammates, saying he's just a product of it. But Georgia Tech, even if the stat line, it's 20 for 28, 211 yards passing, 25 carries, 103 yards, just one touchdown. But anybody who watched those long drives, anybody who watched the way that Georgia Tech was able to extend those drives. Understand that Haynes King is the one who makes it go. DK, I don't think we've gotten a chance to talk much about Clemson, Georgia Tech. So from the Georgia Tech Haynes King side, what did you see from a player who has just been laying it all on the line for his team for multiple years now?
It may not be the prettiest, but Brent Key, he was on our radio show this morning. He said, I don't think there's a player in the country that elevates his team as much as Haynes King, which is very bold proclamation. But considering the way he plays, the way he does it in the pass game and the running game, he's had 2 games over 100 yards now. I don't think it's that crazy of an assessment to make. The dude lived. Do you see? He slept at the facility for 4 weeks through training camp because he just wanted to immerse himself in the playbook, in training camp, getting ready for the season. I think this team is still irritated about the 9 overtime loss to Georgia, feeling like what that could have meant. Early signature win for them. Do you guys want to know? This is what I was trying to find. You guys know what this is?
College football playoff ticket.
And you know what this is?
Punching.
That's a punch. That's a whole, and now it's a stapler. I couldn't find the whole sponsor, dang it. But their ticket is punched to the college football playoff. I think they have the right mindset. Now, ACC could ACC. They always do. They always don't even get me started on Boston College and Stanford. Like, there are some games on there that it wouldn't be shocking. They're going to be favored in every single game the rest of the season until they play Georgia. They're going to be they're this year's Indiana, I think, or this year's. But I mean, they might just win their way in. They might win the ACC. I don't think that's crazy either. They're a really, really good football team.
No, the Georgia Tech path to the college football playoff, to me, starts with making it to Charlotte to the ACC championship game. And then you assume that the game itself, if it is a Miami or if it is a Florida State, should give you a quality win to be able to play your way in. You know, obviously being a champion would get you in, but at least like you'd be able to show your case the way that SMU did, where SMU lost the ACC championship game, but they played against Clemson and it was a close game. And so they were able to stack it on the way in. Yeah, Haynes King, just an absolute dog, and definitely a huge part of the Yellow Jackets and their goals to be able to make it to a major bowl game for the first time since the mid-2010s. And that was the Hymn of the Week, sponsored by the upcoming film Hymn. Producer Jordan Peele invites you to the football, sports, and horror event of the season, which asks the question, what are you willing to sacrifice? See Him only in theaters September 19th. Well, coming up on the other side, more of our Upon Further Review from Week 3 and more next.
The most original musical ever is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I'm just giving the people what they want.
Better Man absolutely sizzles from start to finish. Better Man, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast as we continue rolling back through Upon Further Review from Week 3. Tom, you mentioned you had something LSU related, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I'll let you take lead on this, and we'll see where this goes.
Brian Kelly ain't gonna like this. If you didn't see the clip, he got very angry when he went to the press conference after the game, and the first question was immediately about the offense. And he's like, he's very mad because they won, and he was so pissed that you would dare criticize them because they'd won the game. But I'm just going to read some ranks for you based on the game. Of the 117 FBS teams that played this week, here's where LSU's offense ranked in victory in these stats. Points per drive, 95th. Success rate, 101st. EPA per drive, 97th. EPA per play, 100th. EPA per run, 112th. Points per red zone trip, 105th. Negative play rate, 99th. Now, Coach Kelly, he was saying you're picking nits because it was one game. You have to look at the season and how it played out, and we won the game. You can't just look at the one game. Like last week, we were great on third down. This week, we were bad. Well, Brian, I went and I looked at those same stats for the LSU offense on the entire season. So through 3 games. Points per drive, 111th. Success rate, 93rd. EPA per drive, 95th. Per play, 95th. Per rush, 119th. Points per red zone trip, 113th. Negative play rate, 112th. So in a way, your performance against Florida was better than it had been through a lot of the first 2 weeks. So Not so bad.
I was going to say he's so angry because he understands that the team just isn't that good right now. I think he believes that this LSU team can be an SEC championship contender and fulfill the Tom Fornelli prophecy of LSU winning the national title, something he said with 100% conviction and confidence multiple times on multiple CBS Sports platforms before the season started.
If they don't win the national title, I will grow a beard.
But they will. I think he's angry and set off, and now he's just trying to find other people to rip into, because this team, because of the way the last couple seasons have gone, this team might not be the kind of team that you can tell them that they're awful as they are having success. I think right now he's trying to build this team up. He's trying to stand behind his team because it has been falling short. It has been the inability to capitalize on your talent that has been the big issue. So he needs to be able to figure out a way to change the messaging. Now, attacking reporters, I think the reason why Brian Kelly is angry is because he knows his team is not the third best team in the country. They're not playing like the third best team in the country. And even though they might be able to finish the end of the season, they have to get a hell of a lot better on offense. Congrats. Your defense does look like it's done a lot to be able to improve, but let's also reassess what exactly that improvement means, given Clemson struggles offensively and Florida struggles offensively, because there are teams on LSU's schedule that are looking a lot more in sync than what they have faced so far. I still think that LSU can be as good as its number beside its name is right now. But, buddy, what we have seen on the field just ain't it.
I will say, LSU players, and I know you're all watching and listening, in film this week, if any coach criticizes you for a mistake you made, just be like, this is what we're going to do? We won the game. What are you going to criticize? You're going to micromanage every single damn play, every single mistake I made? We won the game. I played to win. That's what we did. Next question.
I'm team Brian Kelly on the post-game presser. I think there's a time and a place to start hammering him for the details, but I totally agree with you. I've been dropping LSU because they have not looked great. Garrett Nussmeier, who we thought was going to be, the quarterback situation across college football, but even more specifically in the SEC, is pretty wild how it's been flipped completely upside down. Like, Garrett Nussmeier's not playing great. Their offense isn't playing great. So I think you make some great points, but I like this stat.
Yeah. The net, if you're looking, our friend Parker Fleming, Stats O War on Twitter, net success rate. So your offensive success rate, your defensive success rate, both teams, one good number for net success rate. Florida was better on a down-to-down basis than LSU was by the largest margin of any team who lost. That's what you've got over there on the left side. The left side, where the bar is going down, means the team on top lost a game in which they were more successful on a down-to-down basis than the team that won. And over there on the right, in the Missouri, over there in the Michigan, Missouri puts their opponents into an absolute locker. That is just how much better they were in those blowout wins. Michigan, Missouri, Oklahoma, North Texas, Ohio State, and ILL, the Illinois Fighting Illini, among the largest net success rates from week 3. Tom, I've got a couple more here. Danny, anything else you wanted to turn our direction to here in upon further review?
Sure.
Okay.
I liked this player coming into the season. It was one of the reasons I thought this team could make the playoffs, but you might want to start calling him Wally Pipp. Austin Simmons.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys see Trinidad Chambliss?
Yeah.
Who was playing at D2 Ferris State a year ago? Austin Simmons struggled off the bat, right? He had 4 interceptions, 2 at Kentucky. He's been banged up. I think for health reasons, they're going to make really, really sure that Austin Simmons is 100% before they go back to him. But Trinidad Chambliss looked really comfortable in that system. Lane Kiffin's got a good problem to have, because if Austin Simmons figures it out and he reaches expectations, that's great. they might have another opportunity here. And I wonder if it's one of those situations where they just keep rolling with the hot hand, who right now, very clearly, Chambliss threw over 300 yards. I mean, he went off. I mean, that was about as clean a game as you could ask for. In a game they needed to keep scoring, he kept delivering. That was impressive.
And his name is Trinidad Chambliss.
Right.
Like, our good friend Bunky Perkins every year releases the names of the pledges at the one Ole Miss frat house, and they're hilarious. How is Trinidad Chambliss not pledging that house? Because his name fits in perfectly with Ole Miss. Like, Austin Simmons, your time is next year. This is Trinidad's time now.
Austin Simmons is more Sigma Nu. Trinidad Chambliss might be an Omega.
Yeah.
I don't know how many Trinidad, but you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking about, look at here, Ferris State. Oh, we got Debo in here.
That is great.
That is great. Yeah, that's right. Ferris State, a D2 dynasty national championship winner, Trinidad Chambliss. I was trying to get the best, like, deep South Trinidad Chambliss, like Chambliss probably ends up getting in there. Great pull, Danny, because that Ole Miss win was one that I had to go back, and they did a good job of establishing distance, and they didn't, they kept scoring. But to go back and look at, the way he handled that situation was not at all the drop off that I think the panic was. Oh, right. Austin Simmons, game time decision. Oh no, we see that betting line drop all the way down. I mean, it was like 9.5 to start the week, 7.5 on the locks pod, 5.5 before kickoff. And Chambliss, to your point, was super, super effective and gave themselves like everything that they needed in that game to be able to go and win. That was just a great, great pull. And while I was ready to tell the story of Lane Kiffin finally having his first homegrown non-portal quarterback, nope. This might be another portal addition here. That could be the next Lane Kiffin quarterback to make it to the NFL.
In the spirit of continuing to be fair and balanced, like we were in the AP section, it should also be pointed out that Arkansas's defense is very bad, as is Ole Miss's.
Yeah.
Like, I think Taylon Green is very good, the Arkansas quarterback, and I think that offense can do some stuff. But it's been a routine now with Ole Miss. Like, even Kentucky was moving the ball on them a bit more, like to the Kentucky standard. That is something that is going to be a serious problem for Ole Miss, because they might have to score 45 points a game just to, keep winning.
Do we say that about Georgia and Tennessee, though?
No, because Georgia's defense only looked bad on the road against Tennessee, and it was really only looked bad for a quarter. Ole Miss has looked bad for 12 quarters now.
Yeah, that's fair. Danny, are you in on the Dogs? That was a performance that.
I was never out. Like, I had them as a playoff team coming into the season, so it wasn't like I was out on them. But that was huge for the Mike Bobo critics. They'll be quiet, although there still were a lot of, like, the one Zachariah Branch play was a play that a lot of Dogs fans were complaining about. It was just like a little bubble screen or a slip screen to the wide receiver, and they were just getting tackled before. But in Knoxville, he breaks a tackle, beats the safety, and it's like, oh, that's great play calling. Like, way to go. So, like, some of it is like, I don't think it should have been warranted. But yeah, I thought Gunnar Stockton showed me way more than I thought he could. And it wasn't the best game, but his game, what was that game tying touchdown pass to the Humphreys was beautiful. I mean, that to me, in that situation, in that environment, he showed he can make plays. So yeah, I guess I'm just affirmed in my belief in Georgia, like being able to do it with Gunnar Stockton.
I think that win, and again, look, if Tennessee makes the field goal, then Tennessee has their big moment and everything's different. I get it. But that win, going down, storming back, coming out with the victory in overtime is a dangerous thing, because as Kirby told us going into the season, more than 50% of this roster is first and second year players. That is a young team that handled a massive environment, a game that was not a typical Georgia game, and just had answers. Just hung in like all of the cliches about just keep fighting, just keep swinging. Come on, boys, just hang in there. Make one more play within the opponent. That's all you need. Like, every one of those cliches was on display. I think Georgia's young pups grew up a little bit in that win, and that's not good for LSU. That's not good for Alabama. That's not good for Texas or any of these other teams that wanted to try to, jump up and make sure that Georgia didn't reestablish themselves, because Georgia, we forget it, did win this conference last season. But because they were one and done in the college football playoff, we kind of wrote them off, or at least
after losing their QB.
Yeah. I just, that was a young Georgia team with a lot of players that were stepping into those shoes, those roles on that stage, and they hung in the fight. Big win, I think.
Huge.
Also, a reminder too, like you said, if Texas or Tennessee makes that field goal, if Georgia defensive backs don't fall down,
literally fall down,
touchdown passes, or if they treated offensive pass interference the same way they do defensive pass interference. Because that second one, when Brazel puts his hand on his shoulder and just kind of uses him to jump up, if a defender does that, it's pass interference every time. They might kick him out of the game for it. But when an offensive player does it, that looks clean to me. So yeah, like if not for those two plays, this might have been a blowout where we all feel very differently about both teams.
I was watching that game with my daughters. They were getting I you know what I was telling them? I was like, hey, watch, Tennessee's going to storm the field like we did in Tallahassee, because it felt like that's when it going. And then when it was taken forever with the timeouts and then the penalty and all the amount of time for Bama Bangs. What was the kicker's name? The Bama Bangs hanging down the helmet.
Scared shitless Junior.
I mean, he looked so nervous, and good for him coming back.
Yeah,
made the kick into the other one that mattered, but that one it took forever. But that made me think, and this is a unique one because Dabo Swinney had the opportunity to use timeouts at the end of the Georgia Tech Clemson game, and he didn't. And I think if I was a coach, I would prefer the fire drill, the Toro, the whatever you call it, as opposed to when the kicker's just running out there and they line up and they kick it, as opposed to having a kicker walk around for felt like 10 minutes of like time and just thinking about it and simmering about it. And we're watching him like, he is not going to make this kick. He's had way too much time to think about it. It just reminded me of Dabo. I thought Dabo should have used a timeout at the end of his game, as well as potentially get the ball back with a chance for a Hail Mary or something the other way if they had missed the field goal. So I don't know, it was just something that kind of stuck out.
If you're watching right now, the photo on the screen, the best part of that is you see the kicker doing the surrender cobra. You also see some fans doing the surrender cobra way in the back, but you also see some fans with their hands raised in celebration because they think the kick is good.
Yeah, there were a lot of them there were some videos in the stands. They thought it was good for a while.
Max Gilbert. Sorry,
Max.
Max. That's not great.
And just tuck the bangs up under the helmet. That's all I'm asking. Just tuck them up under like a football player does. Like, just, I mean, Gunnar Stockton he doesn't have the luxury of growing Bama bangs. So, but he goes with the headband,
Me and Gunnar in our foreheads. All right, listen.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm right there with him.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about Gunnar.
Yeah,
I feel you. I mean, your head is huge, but still,
I
feel with you.
The noggin on that young man. So impressive.
Walking around looking like a hammer.
Yeah. Just like he's fighting a couple of battles, There's obviously like the hairline and then just like all of that land mass that he has to be able to.
The hair gets tired trying to cover that forehead.
Golly. But I'll tell you what, he is a great Georgia quarterback. That is a Georgia quarterback if I've ever seen one.
Now, is he smiling or grimacing in that photo?
That's a good question.
He looks like he's telling me everything hurts because he just turned 39. He's starting to hit that point. I don't think I didn't have this planned, but since you mentioned it, I'm sure Tyler from Spartanburg's weighing in on this too. I am going to overreact to some of the facial expressions and body language and say that I don't know if Dabo's got total confidence in this. Maybe it's the offense. But I know he was really critical of the defense in the post-game press conference. And
they played well enough to win. The defense.
Do you know what he said multiple times too? He's like, we're not entitled to win every game. I mean, with those kind of admissions, kind of has me thinking that he looks at this team. And I'm sorry to go total, not like Homer, but just personal experience here. There are times when Roy Williams would let North Carolina basketball teams lose games because he's like, no, y'all need to lose this game. Like I'm not going to call timeout. I'm not going to sub you out. Like you all just gave up a 16-2 run. Now all of a sudden you're down by 8 on the road. Like you figure it out. Y'all get yourself out of this. And not calling the timeout and just the way that thing ran down was that was like, I don't know. We'll see. If we lose, we probably deserve to lose. Like it, I just don't see, I don't feel like he feels the urgency of, scrapping and clawing and doing everything that he can. It's like this team needs to get better for them to be able to reach where he wants. I don't know.
Just another kind of underreported thing. We talk about how Clemson, it's passed with like the transfer portal, and they went to the portal this year. And one of the positions they tried to address was the receiver position. They brought in Tristan Smith. Tristan Smith threw 3 games, 1 catch for -2 yards.
Now, Ryan Helt was big in the Georgia Tech game. That was a transfer showing out, but your point's warranted too. Got to have a quarterback be able to do it. All right, here's a fun one. What's the ceiling for the Vanderbilt Commodores?
SEC champions.
Why not us?
Why not us?
Realistically, SEC champions.
SEC champions. Who can't they beat? They can't beat Alabama. They did last year.
Right.
They can't beat LSU. That offense stinks. They can't beat Texas. We've just spent the last talking about how bad Texas looks on offense. They can't beat Tennessee. Tennessee just proved it can be beaten at home. Who can't they beat? Not saying they will, but just because it's Vandy doesn't mean they can't be beat. They can't, they have no chance.
What do you think, Danny?
I wonder if they have the depth because I think in a stack them up versus anybody, I think they can beat anybody, but can they put them all together at the right time, back to back to back? I have concerns about that. I would say 9-3 is their ceiling, but I could be wrong. They can beat anybody. I love this season because I do think you have to change the way you feel about the entirety of college football because I do think parity is here to stay. Like I think the playing field, while it's not completely level, it's been a lot more opportunity for programs like Vanderbilt to actually compete with the other programs in the SEC than ever before. And they've got a difference maker at quarterback. They've got a different attitude, mentality that has to be given credit to Clark Lee for having them believing they can beat anybody in the SEC. So I think it's 9-3 is probably the ceiling, but nothing would surprise me.
9 regular season wins for Vanderbilt Commodores. Now, we remember James Franklin did back-to-back 9-4. Those were 8-4 regular seasons with a bowl win. Last time Vanderbilt won 9 regular season games was 1915. Your conference champions from the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, 9-1.
What kind of impact have we seen teams with veteran quarterbacks have on their teams in recent years?
Mostly positive.
Exactly. And this year, most teams don't have that. But you know who does? Vanderbilt.
But
again, I'm not predicting they win the SEC, but when you look at their quarterback situation every week and their opponents, a lot of those games, they're going to have the edge. Yeah. Like that's going to give them a fighting chance against every single team remaining on that schedule. So you can't just dismiss them because it says Vanderbilt.
Yep.
They're ranked too, boys.
Well, I mean, that's the frustration with a Cade Klubnik or a Garrett Nussmeier or a Drew Aller. Right. Drew Aller, by the way, among Tower Conference quarterbacks, our passer rating numbers, our QBRs, not great. Not exactly what you wanted to see from your star quarterback for a team that entered the year projected to win the Big Ten. Anything else from Pun Further Review before we set the table the rest of the way?
I just had a quick little couple notes here. Alabama's defense against Wisconsin had pressure on 54% of Wisconsin's dropbacks. So that Alabama pass rush seems to be rounding into form. But although part of it is also the fact that Wisconsin was down and they had to drop back repeatedly. But also Bryce Underwood, had the big numbers. He was throwing downfield. He averaged 12.6 air yards per attempt against Central. A lot of that is the opponent. But the one thing I would point out caution-wise as to why maybe Jerome Moore was more cautious in the other games, he averaged 2.99 seconds to throw against Central Michigan, which led to him being pressured on over a quarter of his dropbacks. And he also scrambled on over 20% of his dropbacks. And he also had his first turnover. So when you have a young freshman who's taking a little too long holding onto the ball because maybe you are encouraging him to take deeper shots and wait for things to develop, it could lead to problems. And they're playing a much better defense this week. So,
because we've got Michigan, Nebraska is big time game on CBS this week. Danny, you're going out there?
Leaving Thursday.
College football pregame, headed out to Lincoln, Nebraska. Can't wait to check out all of that action right there. Lead again, 9 a.m. Eastern time to check out Danny and the crew college football pregame. As I was starting to do early Michigan, Nebraska prep, Tom, do you know what stood out to me? He does a good job of sliding away from pressure. Mm-hmm. And you're right, he does end up scrambling. And what they had at quarterback last year with those receptions.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Michigan's offensive line is not ultra dominant right now. And when they go up against the best competition, they will need Underwood's ability to move in the pocket. But man, how nice it is for Michigan to be able to have those athletic tools all on display. I agree. I think Bryce Underwood's performance against Central Michigan, we have to take the opponent into consideration, but damn, it looked clean. It looked extremely advanced for a college football quarterback making just his third career start.
Even against Oklahoma, he showed good pocket awareness. Like it's impressive for a kid as young as he is.
Yep. Speaking of that Michigan-Nebraska game, it's a big week in the Big Ten. So Michigan, Nebraska, Illinois, Indiana. We've got USC, Michigan State. Lots of games that we're going to be starting to get into. Our Tuesday show. Hey, congrats. Welcome back. The Champions League action will be part of the CBS Sports Network offerings, but we are still going to be delivering to you on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, our typical Tuesday offerings, setting the stage for the Big Ten week ahead, which includes our big game breakdown for the big time game of the week between Michigan, Nebraska, Indiana, Illinois, and more. Then we will be back here at youtube.com/cover3 live Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time so that we can do the big game breakdown for the rest of week 4, locks on Thursday, and so much more. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Danny Kanell. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See ya.